my channel. Today we're going on to part 2 of our kitten and we're going to start adding some fur around the eyes. Everything you need is listed below, including the link to the previous part where we drew these bright blue eyes. If you've got any questions, let me know. Yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so I've zoomed into this left eye. And we're going to start with the coal grey one as our base layer, and I'm just going to build up the tone. Now, obviously, because we're drawing a kitten, we're drawing fur, need to make sure that we are following that fur direction. So at the moment, the fur is going straight up over this eye. So that's what we're just going to do. We're going to do this little section of fur here. Just zooming into my reference photo because it does go off to the side here. It starts going that way as it curves up over the bridge of that nose. Okay, so now I've got that base layer, so I'm just going to take my Beige Red. I've not got my pencils out ready. Beige Red, and we're just going to blend this eyelid outwards. So very light pressure, not big strokes, but I'm just going to blend it out over that grey, coal grey one. And it's just going to help us get that nice seamless blend between the two areas. Okay, and then back with the coal grey one, just over the top. Again, we're just trying to get that nice seamless blend. We want it to look soft. We want it to look like fur. Okay, so I'm just going to keep bringing this fur around this eye. Again, making sure that I'm following that fur direction. So we've got quite a big patch of coal grey one going on here. So let's start adding some details into here. So first up, I've got my sky blue. And I'm just going to very lightly, we don't want it to be too blue, but I'm just going to bring some of this sky blue in around here. So it's got quite a nice blue tone to her fur, his or her fur. Just going to erase that graphite line. And then I can bring that coal grey one up to where that graphite line was. Okay, and then back in with this sky blue. And then I've got the coal grey too, and I'm going over the top of that sky blue. Again, following that fur direction. Okay, and then I'm going to take my white, and with the white I'm just going to go over the top of all of this, just to burnish and again help with that blending. Quite a hard pressure there. Just take my coal grey 2 again, want this to blend out smoothly. Coal grey 1. So again, we're just building up those layers, building up the detail. I'm just going to take my sky blue again, very lightly along here. Beige red. So I'm just back and forth between these colours, making sure I've got a nice smooth blend. I want this kitten to look like she's got really soft fur. And now back in with our coal grey 1. Again, make sure we're following that fur direction. And I'm not pressing too hard here, it's quite light. I want to make this look like a highlight on the face. And this will become more obvious as we start really bringing in some of the darks on this side of the face. Okay, and then I'm going to take the sky blue and I'm just kind of going to outline along this edge of the eyelid with a sky blue. Very lightly. I'm not pressing hard, light pressure. And I'm going to take that beige red and just blend back over here, over the top. Okay, and then the sky blue again. I'm just going to start bringing in a little bit of detail. So you can see we're using a lot of blue, even though it's white fur. We've got the coal grey 2 now. We've got the coal greys, and we've got the sky blue, and we're using these primarily at the moment to create white fur. So before we've used like our warm greys, now we're coming in with cold greys. So it just, sorry, I'm waiting for my cup of tea to cool down. I should have waited to have a drink before filming. So it just depends on the reference photo that you're looking at as to whether you use your cold greys or your warm greys. And you can change the temperatures on your photos in an editing program. Use the white. I'm keeping this area quite light, so I'm just going over that coal grey 1 base layer with the white, just to keep it nice and light. Okay, so I'm just going to come in again with this coal grey 1, and I'm just going to blend outwards into that highlight, but just add a bit more colour here. So you can see how we're just darkening up this side, but leaving this side with a highlight. And then my coal grey 2, just where I can see some little fur details, is coal grey 2. Okay, so I'm just going to get my eraser. We're going to do it underneath this eye now, and I just need to lift this bit of graphite ever so slightly. Right, okay, so my coal grey 1, and I'm going to press fairly hard here, and I'm just doing that little triangle area that we've just removed that graphite line. Just going to focus on this little area first. And we've got quite a highlight going on, so I'm just going to get my light red violet, very lightly, just bringing that along here, along the bottom of this eyelid. Very light, I'm not pressing hard. And I'm going to take the sky blue over the top, and then the white, over both of them, and blending it into that beige red that we've got going on and we've got the bottom corner of that eye. And now we can go back to our coal grey one. I'm gonna make sure we lift. Make sure you're lifting those graphite lines because it's such light fur. We don't want it to be we don't want it to see those graphite lines. And I'm just doing this darker bit of fur under the eye. Just gonna map that in with a coal grey one. So this is just that little bit of fur that we always add around the eyes to set them in place. This is the area that we're working on at the moment. We're just going to get those eyes set in place, really build up the fur. So I may release these two parts close together because we do like to do the fur around the eyes. Okay, now I've got the warm grey one, and along this bottom we've got like a little bit of clumps of fur, so I'm going to go over with the warm grey one over that cold grey. I'm just going to darken this clump of fur. This is also going to shape the bottom of this eye, so you've got like your eyebrow, and now we've got the bottom eyelid here just being drawn in. I'm just going to blend out from that light red violet area as well with the warm grey one. Okay, and then take the ivory over that warm grey area. And then I'm going to grab my white. So we're using the white quite a bit at the moment to just burnish and blend, especially for the white fur. I find it really helps. Okay, going back to, I think my coal grey 2. Just going to darken some of these lines that just need to be accentuated a little bit more. Okay, you can see how this fur is really coming together quite nicely already. And then the coal grey one, oops, and again following that fur direction. So it's going to curve around here. And then it's coming flat here. Okay, and then I can take that coal grey 2 and we can just blend that into that coal grey 1 area. Also take the sky blue corner of this eye and blend it downwards, and then back to the coal grey 1 over the top. Like so. Back to the coal grey 1, and I'm just gonna bring this fur up to that line. So I'm gonna lift the graphite again. We'll get this bit of fur in, and then we'll do the same around the other eye. So we might get quite a bit of fur done, we'll see, because the other eye has a little patch on it. It may take a little longer than this white fur. Coal grey 2. I hope you're going to enjoy doing this different animal though. This is the white. because obviously we've done a lot of dogs, so don't know if you're all following just for the dogs or if you want to draw other animals, but we are going to do a few other animals this next couple of months. Right, I'm just going to take that sky blue. I just want to blend this out a little bit. And then the white, the coal grey one. Okay. So I think I'm going to do the fox next. The white. I was going to do this bird, but the bird again is a white. So I'm throwing all the white animals at you. So we'll take a break from white fur. The beige red, and we'll do the fox. Which actually I am excited to draw the fox. It's going to be cute. And then back in with that white. So you can see how we've just really slowly built up the tones. I just want my warm grey 2. Okay, and with this warm grey 2, I'm just going to bring it in again here. I just feel like it just needs to be darker, a bit more accentuated. So we're going to do that with a warm grey 2. Just a few little lines. And the coal grey one, I'm just gonna darken just ever so slightly along that edge, not the whole area, just the edge. Okay, that looks better. Then my coal grey 2. And then the coal grey one. Once again. That looks better. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how we've got this eye at the moment. So I think we're going to move on and get the fur around the other eye mapped in, and then we can join the eyes together, hopefully. We will see, because we do have a darker patch of fur here, which we will work on once we've got this little bit of white fur mapped in first. So we do have a line of white fur here, so I'm just going to lift that graphite. Coal grey 1. Again, making sure we're following that fur direction. So it's a little line of white fur here, and it comes up around this little patch as well. So I'm just going to lift that bit of graphite. And the coal grey one here. Okay, then I've got my coal grey 2 just along the edge where it's going to blend into that little patch. And along bottom of this eye here. Beige red. And then the sky blue. Just gently, not too hard, but just ever so gently in that little area. And then you can take your white and we can just burnish those layers together. Okay, so we've got that nice little white striping, so we can focus on some of these browner tones like we've got going on here. So I'm going to get our warm grey 1 as the base layer. I'm just going to lift some of this graphite again. Okay, now I'm coming in with the warm grey 1 as the base layer. And remember, with this base layers, we're still going in the direction of that fur. It's not going to be as noticeable because we're going to build on top of this, but it's not like we're going in with a black pencil, say. It's going to be quite light. Okay, so that's the base layer of the warm grey 1 down. So now I'm going to take my warm grey 2. I'm just going to darken some of this up. Again, following that fur direction. Bring that down here a bit. Right, now we're going to bring in that colour. And with that colour, we're going to be using our gold and copper colours. I'm also going to use some of the Bistre, so I'm just going to very lightly with the Bistre apply this. Now I'm making sure that there's little gaps. You won't be able to see because it's such light pressure, but make sure there's little gaps between the strokes that you're doing. I'm using the sharpest point of the pencil as usual. Okay, so coming in with the copper first. And I'm just going to start, let me sharpen this. I'm going to use the copper to bring in some of these lines. Again, I'm making sure that I'm not drawing it as one big clump. Sorry, it's breaking off a little bit. I'm leaving space between these lines and I'm blending it upwards into that white fur. Always checking my fur direction. You can see we're getting that nice brownish tone now to this fur, just by mixing the greys and the copper tones. And we can do the same with the gold. Bring that gold in. Just going to bring in colours. And then I'm going to take my white. And I'm kind of using this in between where I want some of those hairs to be lighter. You can see that definition now within that fur. Take the copper again. Oops. Just disintegrating. I'm just creating clumps of fur where we can see them. Like so. Okay, I'm happy with that. Back to the gold. I'm just gonna along that edge, and then I'm going to take the warm grey 1 over that patch. And that's just going to knock down that metallic sheen a little bit and just knock those colours back. Also taking the ivory, just want a bit of that yellowish tinge coming through. Okay, and there's the first little patch drawn out. Right, so we've got the same thing kind of going on above this eyelid. Like a really very pale brown colour, so I'm just going to lift that graphite and then take my warm grey 1 this time as the base layer. So already, hopefully you can kind of see that we've got a colder side to the face, and this side that's going to be a bit warmer in tone. That's the warm grey 1. I'm going to bring in the warm grey 2, and I'm going to add a little bit of detail in with the warm grey 2. So by this I mean I'm drawing in some fur strokes, pressing a little harder. And then I'm going to go over the top of that with the cold grey 1. I'm just going to make sure it all blends softly together. So we're getting those nice smooth transitions, creating that soft fur. And then I take the Bistre very lightly. We're just kind of glazing over with the Bistre, so we're not pressing too hard, very light pressure. Again, going in the direction of the fur and just adding some little fur lines, and that's given us that little brown colour, that brownish tinge that we want on that little patch of the fur. Okay, so let's do this other patch. It's kind of coming up the head here. So I'm just going to take the warm grey 1, and we're just going to follow that fur direction again. And then I'm going to go over the top of that warm grey 1 with a cold grey 1. Again, blending out from this cold grey area here. Then you take your warm grey 2, and again, just building up some fur colour, following the fur direction all the time. You're going to be sick of me saying it. But we are following that fur direction. And can you see, even though we've just used the warm greys, we're still getting this kind of brownish tinge to the fur. And that's because we're using these next to the cold greys. And they have that yellowish base tone to them. And then I've got the ivory just over the top of that. And again, back in with that Bistre. And I'm doing like little V's just to create little clumps of fur with this Bistre colour going in that fur direction. And then take the white okay, and then we've got another little patch appearing around the eye. So let's do this patch that's underneath the eye. So again, I'm just coming in with the putty eraser and I'm lifting this graphite. And then my warm grey 1. It's the base layer. And again, following the fur direction. Okay, so I've done the darkest part. The brown tone comes sort of around the face here, but we've just done this darker patch of fur for now. And I am now going to take, I want my Nougat. So with my Nougat, I'm just going to follow again the fur direction. Bistre. Okay, and then I'm going to just go over the top of that with my warm grey one. Not pressing too hard, but just blending it a little bit. And then I'm going to take my gold and again just build up the fur colour here. So you can see this area is getting a lot darker. I'm going to go over that. Actually, I'm going to take my Venetian Red. Just see if this helps a little bit. We'll go back to the Nougat. Okay, and then my Ivory over that. Now I've got my brown ochre. Just want to bring some of that yellowish tone coming through. So as you're looking at your reference photo, you're just looking at the colours that you can see and just adding them in with your pencils. And then my copper. And I'm actually just going to bring this copper in here as well. Followed by the raw umber. Very lightly with that raw umber. And then I'm going to take my warm grey 2. Actually, we need that Venetian Red. It needs to be a bit pinker here, so I'm just going to bring this Venetian Red in. And the Beige Red. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my, I think I've got my Walnut Brown. Yeah, we'll just use the Walnut Brown. I'm just going to create some really fine little hairs and details. Just where the shadows are, some nice little clumps of fur. Okay, and then I've got the brown ochre again. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that patch now. That's looking nicer. We may come back to it once we've got more of this side of her face drawn in. So back to the cold grey one, and we're just going to bring in some of this fur under here. Again, following that fur direction. Take the white. My sky blue. Beige red. So we're just getting some nice smooth transitions now. Here we want it to look nice and blended. Take that light red violet. I'm just going to darken this corner up a little bit. Okay, the Beige Red. Coal grey 1. And then if I take the coal grey 2, and with the coal grey 2, I'm just going to bring in some little details, some darker fur strokes. So using a sharp point of my pencil. Again, making sure I'm going in that fur direction. And then you can take your white again over the top and burnish those layers. Okay, so you can see now we've got that fur going around both eyes. So let's connect this fur in the middle. So we're just going to take coal grey 1. Okay, and then I've got the sky blue again. Just gonna blend it gently outwards here. And I'm going to take this coal grey 2 coming out from that little patch. So again, you can see I'm really following this fur direction. We're getting that sort of bridge of the nose effect. And then you can take your white, burnish, I think I'm just going to do another layer of this coal grey 1, very gently. I don't want it to be too dark. It is a highlighted area, but I just want a little bit more colour on here, a little bit more pigment. Okay, yeah, I'm happier with that. So you can see it's not taken us too long, and we've already got some of the fur going on with this kitty. So we're going to just keep coming around this eye for now. And I think I want to bring a bit more. I'm just trying to work out, because I think the nose needs to be one section. So let's do, maybe we'll do the top of the eye here. So let me move you across. Right, so back in with the coal grey 1. And here you can see that it's curves, so it's sort of like this. So you really need to focus on this fur direction. So this is still the coal grey 1. Especially where we've got this highlighted area. So I'm making sure, preserving this highlight. Got this highlight above the eye. And then I'm pressing harder now with the coal grey 1. To build up the colour here. So you can already see that difference between the highlighted area and the fur that's going to be darker. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with the coal grey 2. Again, just building up some extra details. And then you take your white, and I'm just going to blend. I want this blend here, especially for this highlight, to be seamless. So everything about drawing animals is just making it all look really soft. Coal grey one, soft and blended, especially when we're drawing a kitten. We know that their fur is going to be really soft, so we want to create that look to their fur. Back to the coal grey one, and I'm just following the fur direction. Around this eye. Okay, sky blue. Now remember, I'm not pressing, when I'm using this sky blue, I'm not pressing hard. Just kind of light pressure, but we're getting some pigment down and it's giving us some nice tones to the fur. And then I can go over that again with the coal grey one. And blend that into this lighter section. So I'm making sure I'm preserving these lighter areas. This is the white. So we've preserved this nice highlighted area around the eye. Just going to take the coal grey too. There's a little bit of detail in there. But every time we're bringing in colour or pigment, we're just preserving highlights and adding contrast. So I've just got my putty rubber and I'm just going to lift some of this graphite. We'll work our way over to these edges. So this is the coal grey one. I'm just going to taper those edges as you get to this edge of the face. This is all coal grey one at the moment. Okay. Sorry, I realised I covered too much. I'm trying to make sure that my camera skills are getting better. I'm working on it. Okay, so you can kind of see here now we're getting that build up. Oh, just remove that graphite. Okay, so we've got a base layer there. We're just going to build up some of the tonal colours. So in this corner I can see like this yellowish tone, so I've got the ivory. I'm just going to build in a little bit of ivory here. And then over the top of that with the warm grey one. And that's going to blend down into your coal grey one, so you just take your coal grey one again, blend over those colours. Also got a bit of this blue tone going on, but I think I'm going to actually use the Cold Grey 2. I don't want this to become too overpowering with the sky blue, so we're just going to bring in this Cold Grey 2. Again, making sure I'm going in that fur direction. Okay, so this is Cold Grey 2, and then I'm going to go over all of this with the Cold Grey 1. And then take your white, oops, just gonna really burnish these colours into the paper and into each other. So hopefully you can see there that we've got a nice build up of tones. And this is starting to show now how we've got white fur on white paper, but you can still tell this is white fur, but you can still see the white paper. So hopefully this is helping you guys. Don't be too scared of these greys. And use the colours. Going back to this blue. Okay, I'm happy with that. A little bit more blue there, and then the white. Okay, she's looking quite cute. Right, I've just moved the camera slightly, and we'll do some of this white hair going into the ear. Now a lot of this will probably change as we do that ear, but we can make a start. So again, I'm lifting that graphite to about the point that I've got it on the drawing. And then once again, Cold Grey 1, and I'm making sure, as usual, that we follow in that fur direction. Okay, so I can already see I probably need to go a little darker with some of these tones, but we can do that. And then this is quite a nice big clump of fur. So remember, as we're drawing fur, we're always looking at it as clumps and clusters. It's still just a bunch of clumps and clusters. Now I've got my Cold Grey 2. And I'm just going to bring in some depth. Around here. And then take the white. Okay. I'm going to take the Warm Grey 1. Just in this corner, I just want to blend these areas together. And then Sky Blue. Now with the Sky Blue, I'm very lightly. Not going to press too hard. Very lightly. And then back to the Cold Grey 1. And the white once again. So everything is just back and forth as usual between these colours as we build it up. So again, putty eraser, lift that graphite. Coal grey 1. And again, I'm making sure I'm following that fur direction. It's going up and over her head. That needs to curve a bit more that way. Okay, coal grey 2. And the white. And again, I've got the sky blue and just very lightly, some little details. Not a lot. Don't want it to be too overpowering. And back again with that white. So you can see how we've got this nice highlight here, even though that's a coal grey 1. And then we've built up the layer around it now with the coal greys. Back in with the putty eraser. On top of this head now. Just going to really make sure I lift this because it's going to be quite light here. And then the coal grey 1. And now I'm going to start lightening my pressure as we come to the top of this head. So it's still the coal grey 1, still doing it in the direction of the fur. But I've just reduced my pressure ever so slightly so that we're going to get a nice highlighted area again. And again, as we come to the edge of the fur here, just lift that pencil off the paper, get those tapered edges. Okay, and then you can come in with the white. And really just burnish that paper. Back to the coal grey 1. Make sure that all these areas and tones are just blending softly and transitioning softly. And then back to the white. Like so. Hopefully you can see that. Just going back to the coal grey 2. Little details that I feel need to be added, and then you can just knock them back with that white. But you've still added them. You've still got that nice detailing going on. Coal grey 2 here. I'm just going to blend that nose in. Back to the white. Oh, I'm really happy with how she's coming on. Nice little fluffy cat. He, she. Yeah, pretty cat. Right, let's see if we can just get this top part of her head done. So this is the putty eraser, and then it'll be a nice place to stop. Coal grey 1. I think we're going to do the ears next, or at least one ear. Want to get the ears done, and then we can move our way down her face and her body. Again, following this fur direction. Now I'm not going to do all this side of the head. We're just doing this top part. We're just going to use light pressure and just keep that coal grey one. Oops. Coming over the side of this head here. Following that fur direction once more. So it's kind of coming over and then it's going to curve upwards. I'm going to go to my Ivory. And then the warm grey one, just going to sharpen this. Okay, warm grey one. Again, following that fur direction. And then the white. Now I may darken this side of her face up when we come to doing the rest of it, but I'm going to leave this here. We've got a nice start and you can see it's still white fur. I'm just going to take the coal grey 2 again. But I'm happy with the amount we've got done today. We've got quite a lot of this fur done. It's really starting to come to life. And hopefully you can see that just by... that was the coal grey 2 and I've got the coal grey 1. Just by using our greys, some ivories, pinks, blues, we're creating the look of this white fur. And the white. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. The next part I think we're going to do some of the ears. I'll make a start on this ear anyway. But yeah, I will zoom you out a little bit and you can see where we are. Okay, so you can see now that we've got these bright blue eyes. And we have now started building in the white fur, and zooming out you can really see that it looks like white fur even though it's on white paper. So hopefully you've enjoyed this part of the tutorial. As usual, if you've got any questions, leave them down below and I will see you in the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, it really helps me out. Bye everybody.